we're going to be building an agent on a live stream. To be cited in an actual chatbot is like a whole different thing. That would be pretty crazy to see.
SEO, we all know search engine optimization, but AEO is something that is getting more and more popular these days, which is answer engine optimization. If I want to cite my content into ChatGPT or Claude or Google search AI at the top, then how do I do that? At least 3 of my paid subscribers come from Claude AI when they would be searching. So you get that, and then one from ChatGPT. So that made me wonder, wow, even for a small creator like me, things are working. The main key takeaway for the audience and for all who have joined would be more or less the blueprint of this agent and how you can use the blueprint to create similar agents.
My name is Leo from Exploring ChatGPT.
Hi everyone, I'm Dheeraj. I run GenAI Unplugged.
I've spoken about agents a bunch, never built one on a stream. So this should be pretty cool. You want to give us a little background, Dheeraj?
Sure. So basically today I'm going to walk you through within Claude Cowork agent, and we'll talk about the differences between Claude Cowork agent, Claude Code agent, how you can port them together. So Claude Code could be something comfortable for technical folks. Like I'm like totally Claude Code guy. I have never moved to Claude Cowork, but then there are a lot of semi-technical, non-technical people who want to like use Claude, right? Build agents in it. So this demo is more or less dedicated to them. And I'm going to do a complete deep dive into what the mental model of an agent is, especially like in the cloud world. And all these agents can be easily ported to Codex or anti-gravity for Gemini. So the concept remains same. So the main key takeaway for the audience and for all who have joined would be more or less the blueprint of this agent and how you can use the blueprint to create similar agents, maybe writing agent, maybe competitive analysis agent. It could be a research agent. Today, we are going to focus on a hot topic, which we know like SEO and nowadays AEO. So SEO, we all know search engine optimization, but AEO is something that is getting more and more popular these days, which is like answer engine optimization, more like if I want to cite my content into ChatGPT or Claude or Google search AI at the top, then how do I do that? So that's more or less AEO. So I'm going to cover both. So this agent covers both the aspects, what you need to do for your content when you are thinking about SEO and AEO.
Cool. Yeah, it's funny thing is, before we did this stream, and thank you to Duraj for putting this topic together for us. I think it's going to be really cool because I do a lot of talking on these streams. I don't do a lot of doing. So this is going to be a different one. We're going to actually do something here. We're going to build an agent on this live stream. And SEO is a very hot topic. AEO, I didn't even know what it was. I had to Google it. Yes, I
Okay.
still use Google. I still use Google. I'm like a boomer in that sense. But
Me too.
yeah, obviously it's like you still get the Gemini answer. But
Yes.
and like for some reason I'll still go to Safari on my phone, pull up Google and Google things instead of going in the Gemini app. But so before we hop into this, when I was talking to Diraj before the stream, because I saw one of the things that you mentioned in this topic is that like my audience would be interested in SEO, AEO, and these type of things. And I told him like I never really think about it, to be honest, on my own side and my own content, but obviously it's pretty important. And then I wondered to myself, what you're talking about is not only just if you go to Google, like I do sometimes, like an old man, and Google something, and then you see a creator's article pop up. Like I'll just throw out a name. Like even I think a couple days ago, I Googled something and I saw Claudia Faith, who is one of the co-founders of Kazora.
Mhm.
Like I saw one of her articles pop up. I'm like, that's super cool, right? I don't know if that's because something in the algorithm knows that I have some type of connection there, or it's just throwing that out like you would throw it out to anybody who's searching that. But to be cited in an actual chatbot is like a whole different thing. That would be pretty crazy to see. And then I wondered if that has ever happened on my end. Has anybody ever been in ChatGPT to research something and then one of my articles popped up as a reference? So super
Nice.
interesting.
Yes, yes.
Let's
And I would say in the, like you can go into the Substack and see like the sources where the people are coming from. And I know at least 3 of my paid subscribers are come from, 2 from Claude AI when they would be searching. So you get that, and then one from ChatGPT. So that made me wonder, wow, even for a small creator like me, things are working. So that's why I feel like these two are very important and very, I would say, pillars of my content generation pipeline. And hence I wanted to like share that, yes, this is something that others can build, learn from, and use it in their daily content pipeline. So let me share my screen and we can get started then.
Yeah, let's hop into it.
Perfect. Again, building an SEO, AEO research agent. This is what I know, like it sounds a lot, but I'll be quick and effective in terms of what we are going to do. So SEO is solved, AEO is the new game. Then like 3 layers, I'm going to show a diagram and then talk about the blueprint that you can replicate to build other agents. So this could become like your agent architecture, a foundational architecture. Some things will change as I'll walk through the overall blueprint. I'll explain all that. Then around 30th minute, we'll get into a deep dive of agent, and then we are going to run the demo of it in Claude Cowork. Starting with the agent architecture. Okay. So I have put it in a very simple manner over here, nothing like technical diagram or something. Mainly some of the prerequisites are at the bottom, right? So you need like Claude Code or Claude Cowork. You need like a Pro or a Max subscription in order to use Claude Code or Claude Cowork, right? So that's like one. Then what I do is I use Tavily. Tavily is a kind of a service, or an MCP server is also exposed through that service, that helps you search the internet, extract content or scrape content, and do deep research as well, right? So you can do this with Perplexity as well, but then there is Tavily, which allows you 1,000 free credits. So for someone like a small creator like me, that is more than enough. 1,000 credits would help me at least get a considerable amount of research done for the whole month of content, right? So that's why I use Tavily, but I used to use Perplexity and Firecrawl combination. So both of these tools also help you with web search, web research. So there is web search, which you just type and search. And then there is web research, where research happens on that particular keywords that you are trying to search for. So it's not just plain simple search. It tries to go into Reddit, it tries to go into other forums, try to extract what people are talking about. So that's the research part of it when we talk about the difference between search and research. So earlier, Perplexity was my go-to model, but now I use Tavily because it helps me with both the extraction of the content, which is scraping, as well as the research part of it and search part of it. And plus, it is free. Perplexity is not free. You have to upload at least $5 into it and then use them. So credit or actual dollars are burning here. At least 1,000 credits I get free. So that's like the other thing. And then like basic stuff of, okay, no, Node.js should be installed. If you are installing Cloud Code, that would be like a prerequisite anyways. So that's like the prerequisite part of it. And like I say, it's a 3 layer pattern that is built. And what I call 3 layers is, first layer is more or less your data layer or integration layer, you can call it, which allows your AI to connect to the outer world, which allows your AI to get external intelligence, which in this case, it's MCP, Tavily MCP, right? If I do a comparative analysis for another agent, for example, a YouTube research agent, in that case, I'm not going to use probably Tavily. I'm going to use something like the YouTube search API. Your so why I'm explaining this is because like it's data layer. That's how we need to think about for this particular agent. You can say that in this data or integration layer, we just have Tavily, right? But in other agents, this could be replaced by some other tool, or there is another tool that comes in over here that helps Tavily as well, right? So that's the basic understanding over here. And then, like I said, Tavily MCP does all three jobs: searching, extracting, and research. That's why you don't need to use Firecrawl and Perplexity. So one key will help you with it. And I'm going to show you like also like how you can quickly register it and how you can add it into your cowork. So then comes the second layer, which is context profiles. Context profiles is like basically this is the main layer that would make AI your AI, right? That would basically emit the signals that you emit out as a person. Otherwise, it would be very generic. So this layer is very important again. So this is our business brain. That's what I call it. Like that's my business brain. So I would put like something like business context, MD file, where like who you serve, audience, pains, goal. As I walk through it, you will get a further idea of it. Then there is this content strategy, my voice rules, format preferences, what makes me citable, right? So that's more or less like two files, but then there could be other files. For example, I can add a file called competitors, right? So I can have another file or I can put that. The idea behind this layer is that this is your context profile layer so that you can put more and more about yourself, and agent or AI is able to get the external intelligence, get the intelligence of yourself or your business, and then comes at the top, which is the agent layer or agent file, which probably in this case is AEO, SEO, researcher. You can name anything. This is where the entire methodology is written, how an agent should execute, and use both these layers to do a synthesis for us and provide us the results back. So that's basically main foundation, and that's how I see every agent can be built, right? It is just the same blueprint that can be followed all along for different agents as well. I can use it for my writing agent, I can use it for, like example I gave, YouTube research agent. I can use similar architecture for the competitive research agent as well. So once you build one agent, you can fairly replicate it. And I know Kim, she's also quite known in terms of Substack growth. She started following this pattern, and now she has like about 33 agents working in her own business. So that was pretty cool as a case study and helped me find the power behind the simple architecture that it is there, as she was able to leverage it. And similar number or I have as well, but like they're all doing some or the other things in the entire pipeline. But this is how our mental model should think when we think in terms of an agent. So external
Got it.
intelligence, your internal intelligence, and then the agent, which is like basically connected to the AI. Could be Codex, could be Claude, could be anti-gravity or Gemini. So
So
that's how, like,
quick
yeah.
question, Diraj, if you don't mind. First of all, can you zoom in a little bit on that, on this,
Sorry.
on your page? Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. So this is quick question for the less technical people like myself, and just from my minimal experience with this stuff. Usually, I've seen like a few tools chained together, and I noticed you're talking about one MCP here. What could you just like quick background before we actually get into starting and building out this agent for anybody's use case? What is an MCP, and how are you
Sure.
doing this with just one?
Sure, sure. So MCP is like, when we talk about MCP, MCP is Model Context Protocol, right? So what it does, it's a standard that has been created by Anthropic and open sourced so that AI, so our AI like Claude, like the models that are there, Opus, Sonnet, Haiku, similarly GPT 5.5, 4, all these models have a cutoff date, right? We all know there is a knowledge cutoff date that they have been trained on a data like sometime in November 2020, right? So after that, whatever has happened, they don't know about, right? They don't know about anything about our business, right? Which could be proprietary to us. They don't know about like my way of writing, right? So basically, what you can, and similarly, like I publish a lot of things on Substack, right? So how does my AI know what is being published on Substack? I store a lot of things on Notion as my content calendar. How do these AI know that what Dheeraj is storing in the Notion, right? So what happens is MCP provides a way to connect the external intelligence. That's what I call it. So external intelligence is all the system data that is present in order to expose it to your AI, right? So it acts as a bridge. So it's MCP is like the protocol, but then you create an MCP server, right? So Tavily has created an MCP server, which, if I try to explain it in simple word, in the earlier days, if a software needs to connect to another software, there is used to be a term called API, application programming interface, so that you can call that API to connect to another system. So one software calls an API to connect to another system or a software, fetch data or update data into it. Now you could have done it, or we could have done it with the same way of doing how an AI can call an API and then fetch the data or update the data. But the problem was a little deeper over there, because the moment things would change, I would need to change the integration layer. But MCP provided a, I would say, a standard interface, so that there is something called M into N problem. I'm not going to go into those details, but then it solved the problem in a way that it simplified that bridge. So MCP now just acts as a bridge. So now, for example, here, what we have to do, we have to research the SEO keywords in this particular agent. We have to basically extract out what my competitors are ranking for which keywords, right? So that is all internet search. The AI does not know, Claude does not know about what my business is. Claude does not know about what my competitors are. Claude does not have a clear way of researching, doing a deep research. Maybe it can do the deep research, but it is not powered to fetch or scrape the web content to analyze that, right? In order to do that, Tavily is a service that provides that functionality similar to Perplexity. So Tavily created an MCP server. So MCP can easily be integrated to your Claude Code, Claude Cowork, or any MCP compliant application. So MCP compliant applications are all these like Claude, Cursor. You can drop in some config file, click on few buttons. So for example, let me bring this over here. So let's suppose over here, right? This is Cowork, right? So I'm in chat over here. This is regular chat. This is Cowork. So if I click on this, you see these connectors, and you click on this add connector. So what is happening behind the scenes is all these connectors or different services are being exposed as MCP server to our AI. So I can add any of these. It's more like adding a MCP server connection so that our AI can get to that particular system. For example, here Zoom, or in our case, this Tavily. So if I search over here Tavily, you will find Tavily as well. So you can see that Tavily is there. So I can click on it, and right now it is connected. So you will click on connect. It is going to take you to tavily.com, and then you just authenticate yourself. It gets connected. So that's how you connect to an external intelligence through MCP server. I hope I was able to clear.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, most of this is free, aside from the fact that you'll need some type of subscription to either Claude Code. Well,
Yes.
I don't think Claude Code is a separate subscription to Claude at this point, even though at one point they were trying to do that.
Yeah, no. So if you are on Pro or a Max account, this will work for you.
Yeah, but you could use Codex or Cursor as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
It's just like subtle naming is different. For example, over here it's called Claude.md file. In Codex, it's called agent.md file. But the moment you start Codex and you have it in this way, Codex will say that should I migrate it? So it is like just a one click and it will migrate everything into its own. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
So you can use it both ways. But underlying architecture remains same, right? The functionality remains same, or the blueprint remains same.
yep, yep. Okay. So basically, even if you don't know all these technical terms and all these descriptions, if you just look at the prerequisites, right? For example,
Yes.
so many people have a Claude subscription at this point. You could
Yeah.
have a ChatGPT subscription, same way. Basically, that's the only thing that you'll be paying for in the process. Tavily is free, as you can see here, and tavily.com, Tavily.com. And then you just take it from there. It seems like, yeah, you have a
Yeah.
free,
So you can see that it's for new
yeah,
creators, and 1,000 API credits per month is free. I am able to use this 1,000 API credits and completely able to do or publish about 10 to 12 posts a month with it.
nice,
Yeah. So
nice.
pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So now let's get into like how the flow works. Again, I'll try to first explain it with the help of the flow chart, and then we'll go how everything is structured in the, I think the Zoom level is okay. Okay.
Yep.
So let's see the flow. So in once the agent is built, so what happens, and this is important so that like we understand the layers further. So let's suppose I build an agent SEO research. So this slash command can be used to invoke the agent, or you can ask Claude to invoke the agent, right? So use my SEO research agent to search about how to get cited by ChatGPT. So this is my query, right? And this is the topic I want to do SEO research upon, because is going to give me the data points that I have to put in, or the words or keywords that I have to put into my article. What kind of questions should I ask so that it can help me with the SEO ranking as well as AEO ranking. So we are doing that kind of thing. The moment you enter this in your AI, hit enter, Claude Code or Claude Cowork or Claude in general would load your agent file, which in this case, let's suppose this the markdown file. Then the agent file would read the context profiles. So now it says like it is understood your audience, your own voice, your business with these two files layers. Then it is going to make Tavily search calls, and if required, Tavily research as well. So for example, like I talked about the difference between search and research, more like this is going to get deeper into it, how people have answered it, what are the recommended answer formats that are there, if there is something that is missing from the current citation that should be there. So it is going to do all that research. So this is like more like AEO synthesis is happening, right? This is where the volume, the top URLs extracted in the same call are there from your competitors. So all that is happening from over here. Once this Tavily does the job, then basically the data comes in, it all filters based on the voice which we have, right? Based on our own profile. And then there is a structured output that gets generated in the form of JSON or Markdown. So that's how like the overall structure flows. And then it will share the primary keyword, it will share the SERP analysis, then it will, is this like search engine response pages. So like the pages that you see at the top, it is going to do that. That's called SERP analysis. AEO citation opportunities going to tell you like, okay, how you can get cited, and then what are the competitor gaps, and it is going to store it in the output folder. So that's how a simple query flows through our architecture. And now if I like open up, let's suppose how the folder works, right? So if I come over here, I hope it could be small. But like I have my Claude Cowork folder over here. Inside it, I have projects, and this was like this. So this is the folder right now, which is SEO AEO agent, in which I have three folders, right? So one is context profiles, that's our layer two, right? And then we have output folder where the output would get stored. And these templates are like for you, like after the live, we can share that. And this claude.md file is our agent file. So if I, let's suppose, open it here, so let's look at the agent file first that we have, and then we are going to run it as well. So what does this agent file does? Okay, sorry, before the agent file, let me open the layer 2 so that it makes sense what the agent file looks like. Let me open the context profiles. So I have like business context profile, I have competitor watch list, and I have content strategy. So you can see that there is a deviation from my diagram in the actual agent. I have the competitor watch list as well, which is good thing that we are giving it more context. So let me like share it here. So let's look at what is there in the business context, which was our layer 2. So layer 1, I just showed you, like we can go ahead into the Cowork, search the connectors, search for Tavily, connect, and just log into your account, it would get connected. So that's the only thing that we have to do in order to connect the layer 1, which was our MCP, the Tavily layer. So once we have done that, we need the context layer, which these three files makes up. Business context profile. So this file provides all the business context around it. So you can see company identity. Here I'm using like my travel channel or travel blog. It's called Discover with Dheeraj, and it's based on Indian Himalayas. Then like this, my domain name, there are 562 posts, 14, 15 years long. So old it is. Then what is the mission statement? We exist to help Indian travelers plan safe, well-informed road trips to the Himalayas. Then this is my way of doing it: practical first, inspirational second. Then target audience, this like avatar A, age 25, 40, urban Indian professional. Then age avatar B, returning adventure traveler. Content authority, so mean like where I have high content authority, so I have put all together over here. Again, if you do not have these files, you can basically just dump this template which we can share, and just ask Claude to interview you, right? And it is going to fill this data for you. And that's easy. So I'll share the template. You can just put it in, and you can create these context profile based on your own content or based on your own profile or your own business, right? But I wanted to show something like non-technical, because this like travel channel, just to demonstrate that this whole thing does not need to work in technical domain. It can work for any niche, any type of domain that you are into. And then like I have my revenue model. So I have Google AdSense, affiliate links, sponsored content occasionally. Then these are my competitors. Our edge is 14 years, first time driving experience, riding experience. These are specific numbers. I use Hindi words. These are the research lenses that should be put in. So all this is like my business context, right? So I have given that over here. Then this is the competitor watch list file. So although we have mentioned the competitor over here, the names, but there were no URLs. So how will like my AI would know which to search? It would rely on probabilistic data, right? Unfortunately, it is my own brand, which I named it back again. It has mentioned it as competitor, so it should not have, but I think that's a mistake on my part that I allowed it to go over here. But this is like the same brand that I converted, but because in its research it found there are some instances, so it used over here. But this is like all the details: what are their weaknesses, what are their edges, what are their strengths. So I have a dedicated file. You can put this content in the section over here as well when you are defining your competitors, but I splitted it into a separate file, so you can use that as well. And then finally, the content strategy, like how do I write content? So this contains my content pillars that I write: route guides, how to practical guides, road status updates, trip reports, comparative decision content like Spiti versus Ladakh, motorbike versus SUV, which month to travel, which route to travel. These are some of the voice rules. I use multiple Hindi words, mostly for some slangs or some Indian food like that. Format preferences, what makes it citable, which is like the AEO thing. So what makes it citable is like first-hand experiences that I have, right? No vendor has, right? So that's like actual fuel cost, actual dhaba names, actual altitude readings that I have taken, right? Based on my experiences. So that's called like something that you are providing yourself that is not available anywhere else. Original tables, contrarian data, and Hindi mixed language that AI assistants struggle to fabricate. What we won't publish: generic top 10 list, anything that requires us to pretend a vendor relationship we don't have, luxury travel angle, influencer style, inspiration post without practical value, right? So like all this is like my DNA. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
forms like the entire second layer.
Yeah.
Make
So
sense?
basically, like what you're showing everybody here is this is all the context that you're giving the agent before it goes out into the wild of the internet. And basically, it may look like a lot to some people here, even if you can't read it if you're looking on mobile right now. But basically, the easy way to do this, which Diraj mentioned, is just have your AI of choice, it's Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever you're using, basically interview you. And Diraj will probably post later on some background
Templates.
information to this stream and maybe share this template with you. So you don't have to physically go in and type out all of this context. You can have the AI interview you and do it that way, and then it'll just fill in the blanks for you. And basically, the importance of this is basically showing you what the agent needs to know about your business. And the whole point of what we're showing you here is we're building an AI agent to increase your SEO, AEO, and basically hopefully get cited in these LLMs when someone is doing some type of research. And then it'll take you directly to their YouTube channel, to their Substack, whatever it might be. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So that completes our second layer. The third layer is the agent layer. So in the agent layer, this is all we have, right? So again, you can see it's like a plain English, simple markup file, nothing technical about it. It's just being instructed. It's more like a big system prompt that you can think of it in simple words. So here we are assigning it a role. You are a specialized SEO and AEO researcher, not a keyword tool. Your job is to deliver real SERP intelligence and AI citation strategy sourced from actual web data, filtered through your business lens. So that's where sourced from actual web data is our MCP. So that's what it is providing as external intelligence, being a bridge. And then filtered through our business lens is our second layer, which we just, talked about. Every recommendation must be citable. Every output must be actionable. This file is your whole operating brain. And you can see there is a startup protocol that I generally use, which is where should you read. So there could be a memory.md file. This will help me keep on further enhancing it. Any type of corrections that I will make, I'll put that in memory.md file so that it keeps on learning. At the first time, memory will be zero, right? Then as we improve, as I make corrections, the memory keeps on getting added and the output gets better and better as you do more and more researches and make more corrections. Then you have your extracting it in the second step, that read all the context profile, read my business context, read my business content strategy, and read the competitor watch list. So these are the 4 steps that I am telling it to do as soon as a session starts. Then before doing anything else, greet the user with a short confirmation like loaded, discover with Dheeraj context, watching 4 competitors, ready to research, give me a topic and research idea. Just make it interactive and make it like very straightforward for you. So it's just like a startup protocol that has been defined. And then what you need to do is the user will give you a topic or a post ID. You run 3 Tavily calls. So it is important, like you can see that I have mentioned 3 Tavily calls because I don't want like more than that. I can like 5. This helps me limit the number of credits it will exhaust. Otherwise, if I don't limit it, it might go and exhaust majority of my credits, right? Which I don't want. I want to have upper limit. So I have to be very specific that how many credits or how many calls you have to do. So this is all it is going to do: AE synthesis analysis, AEO synthesis, SERP analysis, and keyword research. And then the research methodology is a 5 step methodology with 3 Tavily calls that you need to understand the topic first. So it is going to understand everything based on the context. Then it needs to do a real keyword research based on 1 Tavily call. So Tavily is going to help us and it mentions like which tool to use. Then it is going to do a 1 SERP analysis call, again Tavily, and it is going to extract the content, which is like scrape the content. And then finally, it is going to do the AEO synthesis of going how do AI assistants like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini currently answer queries about whatever topic we have mentioned. What sources do they cite? What information is missing from those citations? What content format or structure makes a page citable by AI assistants? Be concise, maximum 400 words. So that's like all the instructions. And finally, we are saying synthesize the output and save the output in a JSON file, as well as like this is more like the JSON file that it would get saved in. Again, you don't need to like think that, hey, I need to know JSON. All this, you can even just say it in plain English and just ask Claude or any AI that you're working that create a proper JSON or a structured format for me. It is going to do and document this JSON for you. And the starter templates would help you with that as well. And then like at the bottom, I have this after saving JSON, always write a human readable markdown summary as well in the output folder, which is markdown file that I can read as well. So JSON is helpful if something like I have a UI on top of all my agents or my content OS, so I can view it, I can send it to anyone. So that's where JSON helps. Otherwise, I just need, if I have to read it, I'll just need a markdown file. So I also instruct the agent that after all the research, after you have created the JSON output, create a markdown file as well. Finally, like some memory protocol, how do you keep on updating the memory? Do not update memory for keyword findings, anything about world, a one-time request, but the user explicitly say when they want to add something. So here I'm like defining a memory protocol that in the memory file, only add when I am asking it to add. Don't add it yourself unnecessarily. Similarly, at the end, some cost saving rules that, okay, no, these are the cost saving rules that you have to have so that maximum of total per run 10 credits are used, not more than that. Again, this is something that makes generic demos different. That's why like I try to always show the productionization side of it as well, because I've burned my hand not having these rules, not having these NFRs in, and exhausting my quota or getting a couple of $100 bills. So that's why like it is important to have it. So that's the all agent file. So just at the end, it's just about quality rules and the cost rules. So once you have that, before I jump into Cowork, any questions so far, or you may be seeing, or then we can see it in action, like how it works.
No, I will say when you give your background on this later on, if you could leave these templates for people to try, that would
Yes,
be
yes,
great.
yes,
I
yes,
think
definitely.
like it can be a little bit intimidating when you're looking at this on your screen right now.
Okay.
But just know, as I mentioned earlier, this is not the end of the world. It's not super hard to do. I
Yeah,
think that the main thing, like what you just mentioned here just now, the context and the rules that you're setting are so important, especially when we mentioned the basically what you need to do this and how you can do this for free. If you
right.
want to do this for free, aside from your Claude subscription or your ChatGPT subscription, you need to set certain rules, right? Like Raj just mentioned, to make sure that okay, this is your limit. You're not going to change any of these rules unless I explicitly tell you to. And this is why context is so important when building out these agents.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, don't get intimidated. I know it's like a lot of written stuff, but no, frankly, it's not. It's just like whatever that's why I showed the diagram first, the architecture first. It's just that translation of architecture that is being explained in the agent file. That's pretty much it. So what we have to do is now we have a folder created with all this content. So you can work in Cowork. I'm not going to show the example of code that gets a little more technical, but like from the Cowork standpoint, it's pretty simple. You open your Claude app, you come to this tab, which is like Cowork. You click on this work in project, and then like I can basically just choose a different folder. I'll click on this. So I have my downloads folder and I have this Cowork folder over here. In this, like I have projects, so wherever like you have saved the files, right? So I have this SEO AU agent, so I'm going to work in this, and you can see it's like the same claude.md context profiles, output and templates. I'm going to open this and I'm going to say, let's begin the startup protocol. And you don't need to say it, but like that's generally I do it. So you can see like it has started loading, and it because I had that instruction there that in the startup protocol you load the context file. So it is deliberately now going to load all the context profiles that we had. So now it has started reading, you can see. And you can see quickly over here at the right hand side as well. And apologize for people like who are on watching on the mobile, but yeah, on the right hand side you are seeing like all these files being loaded. So you can see over here it has loaded the context of it, and I'm ready to research. Give me a topic. So that means our whole startup protocol has been successfully executed by the agent. So this is all the agent is, because that's like all the claude.md file. So now I can say that, let's suppose, research the topic on Manali to Leh bike ride 2026. So now this is the topic. So this is like a place in the remote Indian Himalayas, which is like Manali and Leh highway, pretty popular in adventure travelers for bike rides and motorbike rides, car drives. Or so basically, this is what I want going to research. Like if I have to write a blog post on Manali to Leh bike ride in 2026, what should it be doing? So now it has started to look for the tools, which is like the MCP. So it is going to Tavily is installed, but its tools are not enabled in this chat. So you can see that because it was not enabled, it is asking me to enable over here. I click on it. So I click that. Now you can go ahead and use Tavily. So I have enabled that. So it's saying use this in chat. I have basically enabled it. Now it is connected, right? So I could have started it with the connection, but I just wanted to show over here that even if like you are making some kind of a mistake, something is not working, but it is put in the instruction, the Claude Cowork is going to handhold you till the time you get the result. So now it's saying that, okay, enable it and then hit go. So I'll just say go. It has already identified what topic framing it has to do. So it's a route guide. You can see like from the context it has loaded. Primary avatar, it says my B avatar is going to work. Seasonal window at highway typically opens from mid-May, closes in October. So like these are all the contexts that it has already fetched, right? Let's see now. Now it has started doing Tavily search. You can see over here. And it is going to take few minutes in order to finish. So yeah, like pretty much now the agent is working. You can see the progress. The best part of using Cowork is that it creates this to-do list at the top of the window. and you can see like initialize the topic, and then keyword research Tavily. Now it is analyzing SERP. Then step 4, AEO synthesis through Tavily and write the JSON format. So right now it is doing the analyzing the SERP. These are all the steps that we defined, and it just imported over here. If it has to do some more step, it is going to add it, can show it. The other part is that you can basically click on this plus and annotate it and question it. So now it is asking me permission. So I'm going to say always allow. And at the bottom, you see this ask before acting a thing or act without asking. So you can set the cowork in any of these two modes. I generally work with act without asking, but it's up to you. So like I'm just going to say yes, act. Yeah. So now it is going to keep on acting without giving that kind of a prompt that we just saw. So step 3 is completed. Now it is working on synthesis or synthesizing the AEO. And once that is done, it is going to just write the output for us. I think it probably might take another minute and then it will finish.
Okay.
So for your like, how do you sound like? How does it look like to you seeing it first time, using
I
it?
think it's awesome. I think it's really cool that even after you showed all the folders, all the context, all your instructions, all your rules, at the end of the day, you come back to Claude, you come back to ChatGPT, and you're in there just like you're talking to a chatbot anyways. It's the same feeling, even though the action is completely different because now you actually have an agent taking action for you. I think I like what you just mentioned there as well, where you say you have the option to have it take action without asking versus the other way around. And obviously that's a personal preference, but also probably
Right.
depending on what you're doing, if you need to be more careful, you make sure that you make all the confirmations as it goes, especially if you're not in a rush or if you're doing something a little bit more sensitive. But in this case, this is great. At the end of the day, this may be a bit niche, but I think that the use cases are more broad just because right now we're only doing it for this one use case, but the use cases are probably infinite.
Yes. Yeah.
But in this case, we're just doing this to say, okay, if you're a creator on Substack or YouTube, wherever it might be, this is how you can get the however many people in the world, billion people that are using AI right now, when they're searching something, that your work will get cited and then people will funnel over into your page. This is
Right.
just a specific use case that we're doing, but it's pretty awesome. I will say, Diraj, as we're waiting for this, I do unfortunately have to leave in a bit
Yep.
because I have to go to work and little kids and all that fun stuff. So,
Yeah.
but let's see how much longer we can pull out of this.
Yeah, I think it's just creating the file, and as soon as the file is creating, let's quickly wrap it up then.
Yeah, sure.
Just 1 second. I think take another minute maximum. So fourth step is done. It is writing output. And then just one as it is writing output, there are like on the left hand side, you can see scheduled and dispatch. So scheduled is you can schedule now, like once you have executed it, you can go to schedule task and do it on a recurring basis. Like you can do a monthly schedule or howsoever you want to do. That's one thing. The other thing is dispatch. Dispatch is a feature which allows Claude Cowork to connect to your phone, so I can basically go ahead and just execute a query from my phone as well on the go. And now the result is out. You can see like now research is done. Tavily has created the output and all this data is over here and it has produced these two files, the JSON file and the Markdown file. So if I open up the Markdown file, you can see these are the recommendations that has come, like pretty detailed one. Again, if you are using AI to write the draft post for you, you can just feed this right into it. So primary keyword, it is saying this ranking opportunity is high. The topic is owned by package tour pitches and recycle 2025 data. No competitor has first hand 2026 fuel prices, the new Hanley ILP route and all that, right? So this is like directly actionable thing for you. AEO opportunities, it is telling that, hey, mention a table around these aspects, like mention these points, and you will quickly start getting ranked for these particular things. Like, for example, 2026 ILP, which is like inner line permit requirements for these two places, right? The construction status of this particular, no petrol pump in the dead zone between these two places. If you write about this, people searching, these are the opportunities. So these are like direct opportunities, citation opportunities, specific, not generic. So that's the power of the tool, right? Using this for this kind of a research analysis or SERP analysis. And finally, it is also telling where to use. In your H2 heading, use this type of keywords. In day one section, use this. In embedding a map, use this. So that ways you will be able to rank higher in these, and these are all long tail keywords. So if you feed all this information to your writing agent or writing pipeline, you're going to get a draft output for which you don't need to worry about AEO and SEO. So that's the actionable thing that comes out over here. And I'll share like all the templates in the recap. I know we
Awesome.
need to quickly wrap up, but that's how it is.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate you showing us that. It's super cool. So again, this is just one specific use case, but if you have a Substack, YouTube, and whatever social media, and you want to get cited when someone's using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, this is the way to do it. It's probably this is the way to go with less and less people now opening Safari and Googling something, or even with that, you can still get cited using this because a
And,
lot of the times it has that AI mode automatically. So yeah,
right.
unfortunately, I do have to wrap up. I have
Same here.
other things I have to take care of. I will say, just I'll link that in the chat. That's the YouTube channel. You can copy paste that, or just go to YouTube, type in "Exploring ChatGPT Live," and you'll find the channel where the stream will be posted, as well as other streams. And I just want to say really thank you to Diraj for putting that together.
Thank you.
I feel like I was just sitting in like a Harvard classroom, and I got my $1,000 worth of
Right.
education.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Leo, for the opportunity. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Thank you everyone else for being here. Bye
Mm.
now.